On today's Starting Nine, we break down the biggest news of the MLB offseason so far, including a major signing mid-show. Justin Verlander's out to New York City, Jacob deGrom heading down south, trades and free agency, and so much good stuff to get into as we're knee-deep in the winter meetings. Let's have a great Starting Nine. Action! And welcome back to Starting Nine. Carl here in Chicago, joined by Jake Arrieta. Some massive news off the top, big fella. So massive, I think I'm ready to make a comeback. I just do velocity training because I need to get a piece of this action. Some of these contracts, unbelievable. But first, how's the weekend?
The weekend was so good. We had Christina Lackey's 40th party here in Austin, comedy night Friday. Saturday, had Juvenile come in and perform. She was surprised. We're trying to keep a secret from her as impossible. She's like, look, if Juvie's not at my party, like, I don't even want to have it. But we're like, look, he's got a concert in like Nashville, he's booked. There's nothing we could do. Sorry. So we hit it from her well, and she had the best night of her life, and one of the best weekends I've ever had. So still trying to hydrating. I got to take a week off of any sort of drinking. I'm just not feeling so good. Back's a little sore. Hammies from the dance floor are stiff, but we're gonna hang in there. And you know what? Like, typically when we do our show, like right after big signings would happen, we got fortunate and saw a big one this morning. So things are starting to turn for us. How you feeling, by the way? Are you back?
Okay. I'm okay. I don't think I'll ever be back. There's something about this illness inside of me. I like the guy that existed before I got sick is dead and gone. Now I just have to make the best of what this life is now. And I'm in great spirits, tremendous spirits. We have awesome news to talk about. You're right. Every time we do a show, and as soon as we get done, if we talk about something, last week we did it with like it's like college baseball. We were just randomly talking about how many college coaches were on staff. And literally, as soon as we got done with the show, there was like a lawsuit filed or something, so college baseball coaches can sue for like more some fucking extremely specific news. So with that in mind, I guess here's old school Starting Nine right now. Bag of the week. I want to bring this segment back. Let's do There's two massive bags right now. I don't know who deserves the award. Is it the Rangers or is it Steve Cohen? Steve Cohen backs up the Brinks truck for Justin Verlander. The Rangers come out of nowhere. Unless you've been listening to this podcast, the Rangers come out of nowhere and sign Jacob deGrom.
Well, yeah. For me, I got to go with the Rangers because they finally go out and make a big splash and sign a legit number one starting pitcher. Because they have to do something to compete more seriously in that division. We all know that they have prospects and they have promise and they have some good players. They signed Simeon. They brought in Seager, which is great. You know, those two guys should be really good for them. Hopefully, Simeon can rebound and have a better second year. Seager had a nice season, but you have to limit runs. You have to be able to do that too at a high level, especially when you're in a division with an up and coming team like the Mariners. We saw what they did last season, made it to the postseason for the first time in a long time. The Angels can be competitive. I don't know what they're going to look like next season. And then obviously what the Astros have done, they've dominated that division for a long time. And, they went out and made a big move. So excited to see that. And, Verlander's no longer going to be in Houston. So, they're inching closer to potentially being able to compete for that division. I don't know if they're quite ready just because they signed deGrom, but they're moving in the right direction. That's for sure.
Dude, you get to add Jacob deGrom to your rotation while a team in your division loses Justin Verlander in a 48-hour window is pretty solid for the Rangers there. And we've been saying it's like they got the All-Star game. And we've talked about like how important it is that the Rangers, they have to be competitive now. You can't wait because the Astros aren't going anywhere. And from the perspective of just like new baseball fan development, if Major League Baseball is really sincerely interested in like growing the game and stuff, you have to have an eye on the Rangers and hope that they can pick it up because the Dallas-Fort Worth area, that's such a big market and they don't have like relative to the Astros,
Huge.
it's just not a juicy fucking brand. So, like, here comes Jacob deGrom. Here comes some of these top prospects coming. Obviously, the new stadium, all the buzz. Good time to be a Rangers fan.
It is a great time to be a Rangers fan. And, you're a stone's throw away from Cowboy Stadium. And we all know like what the Dallas Cowboys mean to even if you're not a fan, it's just they're extremely polarizing. And when you're in that basically in the same parking lot, I mean, you got to take advantage of that. I mean, the market is enormous. So great move by them. You know, it's gonna sell a hell of a lot more tickets. It's gonna increase the enthusiasm and the excitement from the fan base. And they'll probably gain a lot of new fans because there's a ton of Jacob deGrom fans there that will follow him to Texas. I've seen it with one of my best friends. His son is a diehard Mookie fan and was all in with the Red Sox. And he goes to L.A. and he's like, "Look, Mookie's my boy. Now I'm a Dodgers fan. That's just the way it's going to go." And I know some people might say that that's a no to jump teams just because of a certain player, but that's when your guy goes somewhere else and he's your guy. I mean, you go with him sometimes. I guess that not necessarily how most people would kind of handle that, but hey, he's an 11-year-old kid. That's his boy, and now he's a Dodgers guy.
Well, I think we're trending towards that too with baseball. Like NBA to me is the first one there. Fantasy sports help that too with NFL, where you can start to be like, oh, I'm a guy like Kyler Murray. I don't know why I just picked Kyler Murray. I'm a Jay Cutler guy. I'm a diehard. Wherever he goes, I'm going to be a Cutler guy. I got to play like that. And now can baseball become a sport like that where people are less ingrained with like their local teams and like, yeah, I'm all about my team, and or can you be more like players? Like we've talked a lot about O'Neal Cruz. I love that dude. That's like a perfect example. Like somebody that'll break it down. We're like, I want to go check in on what O'Neal Cruz is doing. But back to the ground, dude. 37 million big ones, 5 years, conditional sixth-year option that takes the deal to $222 million. There's a full no trade clause. That is an astronomical amount of money for a guy who hasn't really pitched that much, healthy, hasn't really done it down the stretch either. So, am I being shitty about that?
I understand all those concerns and the backlash from Mets fans and people around the game saying how it's a crazy signing. Like he's just like you just mentioned, he's been injured. He hasn't pitched well down the stretch in October. Yada yada yada. But look, when this guy's healthy, he is the best arm in all of baseball, and the Rangers know that. And I think that durability maybe is in question just a little bit. But I mean, if you look at his numbers, I mean, in 2014, he made 22 starts. Then he goes 30, 24, 31, 32, 32. In the COVID season, he made 12, pitched a full season. Last season, hamstrung by some injuries, and then or 2 seasons ago, and then this year, yeah. But I think that he can be durable. And if you look at Zach Wheeler for a few years. I mean, we couldn't keep that guy in the field. He had a hard time staying on the field. He dealt with some injury issues, and then now he's one of the best arms in the game. I compare both of those guys like biomechanically, the way they're built, the flexibility that they have, and I think long term, as far as durability is concerned, I think they're going to be okay. When you're throwing a baseball for 7, 8, 9 months a year, you're going to deal with little things here and there. It's just part of it. I mean, have there been guys that have pitched start to finish healthy their entire career? Maybe. It's very, very unlikely. So guys are going to get injured. Whether you're a position player, a bullpen guy, a starting pitcher, you're going to deal with injuries. So it doesn't bother me much at all. I mean, it's just part of the game. I mean, most guys at some point in their career are going to be on the IL. Plain and simple. It is what it is. But when he's on the field, he's the best guy in the stadium.
And they have, well, I mean, the 5 years to me is enough protection, right? It's not too long or, super risky there. Like 8 years, that's a lot of years. 5 years is good. And if to your point, should there be a bump in the road or whatever, 1 year here doesn't ruin it for a 5-year duration, especially with some of these prospects they have coming up. You get Owen White, Jack Leiter, Brock Porter. I'm just like looking at the list here, Kumar Rocker. So many of these right-handed pitchers are going to benefit from having this guy around spring training, being able to see him in the organization. I would imagine that his professionalism in his class is the type of thing that bleeds through the organization. It has to. You can't spend $37 million on a guy and not get that. Like, he's going to show up and be a $37 million guy, right?
He's a larger than life type of figure for some of these young guys, and even guys that have been in the big leagues for a number of years. I mean, he is well respected. Obviously for the kind of guy he is, but what he's able to do on the field. I admired him, and I was his senior in the game, but still, like, I recognized and appreciated what he was able to do with a baseball in his hand. And when he is around those young guys that have not yet pitched at the highest level in the minor leagues, in AAA, or at the big league level yet, they might be coming into their first big league spring training. Just to work alongside a guy like that, I mean, there's a tremendous advantage in that also. Not just what he brings from a performance standpoint, but what he can do in terms of potentially, helping fast track some of those guys to the big league level. I mean, just imagine like a Leiter or a Rocker knowing that they're potentially going to be pitching in the same rotation as a guy like deGrom. I mean, that's a huge deal. I remember when we signed John Lester before the 2015 season. I sent out a tweet that was something like, the Cubbies just got a hell of a lot better, like, signing the left-hander. So I couldn't wait to just be in the same uniform and work alongside a guy like Lester. And this is no different with the young guys that are in the Ranger system, with an opportunity to work alongside this guy for 7 or 8 months. So it's a big deal.
And then you got to think, like, did the Mets sandbag their offer to deGrom so they could go get Verlander? Because it seemed how quick they moved very quickly on that. We speculated last week too. If Steve Cohen doesn't get his way in another offseason, he doesn't win a World Series. Not another, but he's still very early in his ownership career. But he's made it clear he wants to win a World Series in 3 to 5 years when he got the team. Went out, got Scherzer for $43 million. And then there's been kind of these rumors and rumblings deGrom wanted to get south, was kind of checked out on his time with the Mets. So then the fact that they come in and they get Verlander right away off the top just makes me wonder if Steve Cohen, if this is a diabolical play to get Justin Verlander the whole time. And if you had to pick one, I think I'm picking Justin Verlander. And I know Verlander's off in the entire 2021 season. There's not really much of a leg to stand on, I don't think, to say one is more durable than the other right now if Justin Verlander's coming off of Tommy John. Did make 28 starts, did look fantastic. But
yeah, look, anything can happen. Anyone can get hurt at any time. You don't know what pitch it's going to happen on. You could be running over to cover first base and you blow an Achilles. So it's just such a volatile thing. Like when you're moving in an explosive manner, upwards of 100 times per game, you're expected to be able to cut, be explosive. Like these are things that are on the table. So, I mean, look what happened with Zach Wheeler. The Mets said, it's just insane that you give a guy like Wheeler that kind of money. Like, he's not going to be durable. He's not worth that. I mean, he hasn't had an ERA over 3 since he's gotten to Philly. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, you expect certain comments like that when you have a guy and he chose to go elsewhere. There's a bitter taste in teams' mouths. But whatever. I mean, get over it. Like, you had your chance. He went elsewhere, but on the bright side, you did get Justin Verlander. And I'm not saying I think this is going to happen, but because he just had arguably the best season of his career. But at some point, this guy has to slow down at least a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to be next year or even the duration of this contract, but when you look at his age, it's got to be somewhere around the corner, right?
I mean, you would think, but there's no sign of it, dude, because
There isn't.
and he has this weird, I've said this before, he's got this like weird philosophical commitment to being a great pitcher. You've heard him talk about it before. It's like, this guy's not going anywhere. He's talked about like, well, I've been given this gift from God, and I will take this gift as far as it will take me, and as long as I feel able and willing, and This guy ain't going fucking anywhere. He's not even. I don't even know if he cares how much he's getting paid. I think it's just a matter of like he knows he should be paid at the top of the league. Like and again, this conversation originally started because Steve Cohen, his nuts are so fucking big. They are because he's cutting checks for $172 million for 2 years for these guys. Now, I get, we've talked before, like the players go out, they win the games. Well, every now and then you got to pat an owner on the back, and Steve Cohen just went out and caught $172 million, I think, for this year and next year for Scherzer and Verlander at the top of his rotation, which is a fucking thing you could have said 15 years ago and would have been cool too. So
absolutely deserves a ton of credit, no question about it. Owners, front offices are super involved, and they are the decision makers that formulate the roster, put things together, and put people in the right positions to have success moving forward. So yeah, he deserves a ton of credit. You missed out on deGrom. What happens? You pair Justin Verlander with a guy like Scherzer, and I love that. I didn't necessarily know where he was going to end up. Just it's hard to know what's going on in these conversations, where the players' heads are at. They have to consult with their family. Where are they going to be comfortable? They landed on New York, which is a great move. It's, I would assume that they believe that it's not a loss at all, and I don't necessarily think it is. We will see if deGrom pitches an entire season completely healthy. We'll see where the numbers stack up. I mean, I've spoken very highly of deGrom for a long time, and I'll continue to do so. But I like Verlander just as much, And with your comments and his comments about his responsibility to kind of carry his career as long as he can, like I think that's just an unbelievable mindset, because we're not going to see many careers unfold like we have with Verlander. I mean, he's going to be going into his 18th season, coming off, a career best season like that. It's historical in the sense of he's doing something that we rarely get to see before, and at such a high level. It's not like he's just hanging on and, he's major league average. I mean, he is potentially or arguably the best in the game still. So I want to see him pitch for as long as his right arm will allow him to do so, and that seems to be his mindset. So good for him. Happy for just and selfishly, like, just excited to continue to be able to watch him do his thing.
Meanwhile, Mariners fans, they're all jacked up. They're all jacked up for like 5 seconds to be like, wait a second. Because now it just seems like they can't catch a break. If you're a Mariners fan and you finally feel like our time's arrived, we're going to go compete with the Houston Astros, and now it's just like, what are the Texas Rangers doing? Why go away? AL West. Certainly, there's something about the AL West too, I would say, is I know NL East, AL East, and just how different it is. Those people don't even know that there's baseball being played across the country. But I will say,
it wasn't even
the AL West is I'm just so drawn to it. It's so interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's been dominated by one team, and there might be a little more disparity in that division, and I think it's better for the game of baseball too, to see more highly competitive games, especially down the stretch, rather than having one team run away with it. But yeah, I mean, the Mariners, look, I think that they're going to be very competitive. I don't think just because of the signing of deGrom that means it's just them and the Astros. deGrom pitches 1 out of 5 days. They're going to have to get production from a lot of different sources rather than just him. But we'll see, man. We'll see.
Some other big signings here. I shouldn't say, I don't disparage them. Way bigger than I'll ever sign for. But first, I'd like to thank Game Time, the official ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. I've been using Game Time all year. I just went to the Bears game, used Game Time, sat in the first row, had a wonderful experience. Game Time. Lowest guaranteed. We've said the G word before. If you haven't given Game Time a shot, I don't know what you guys are waiting for. I'm using Game Time again this weekend. going to Army Navy with my dad in Philadelphia for his 70th birthday. We've had tons of Barstool fans using it. I've been using Game Time all year. It's easy to use, amazing deals. The fastest growing ticketing app in the United States. You guys are going to love it. Download the Game Time app and go to the account tab to create a login. Redeem code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Go check out the Game Time app, guys. $20 off. STARTING9 promo code. Terms do apply. All right, I'm going to run through these couple quick. Congratulations, Carlos Santana. He signed again. He's playing with the Pittsburgh Pirates. 1 year, $6.725 million. That's oddly specific. Good for him. Again, he'll be 37 next season. Big motherfucker. I like this. I like the fact a switch hitting power hitter, but like not really that. I mean, obviously, a power hitter. The guys hit 25 to 30 jacks every single year, but you don't see that too much. Those days are gone. The power aspect of it.
Look, I mean, Carlos Santana has been a great player. Has been a good player for a long time. I know he loves the game of baseball. He's probably going into his 13th, 14th season. Been around for a long time. He's been on some really good teams. Now he's signing with the Pirates. Maybe he can, be a potential mentor for, a guy like O'Neal Cruz. Kind of help him with certain things. But he's going to a team that's not going to do anything. But hey, he's making $6+ million. He's playing another season. Yeah, I mean, not going to play in the postseason, but there's only so many jobs to go around. So, he's making his money.
Good for him. Chris Martin, $17.5 million, 2 years at Boston. Chris Martin, I feel like was a guy the Cubs took a chance just to get, not like took a chance, but put him in the bullpen last year so they could trade him at the deadline. Chris Martin, 2 years, $17.5 million. Not a closer.
No, I mean, not a closer, but
I mean, $17.5 million to not close and be in a bullpen is a lot of fucking money, Jake.
It is a lot of money, and he let's see, I mean, how many he pitched in
60 games last year.
60 games, pitching 60 games. Yeah, he had 3 ERA. I mean, it's a nice arm.
He'll be 37 years old. 37 years old, didn't get to the big leagues till he was 28 years old. 37 years old, just cashes a 2 year, $17.5 million. I don't know if that says more about Chris Martin, the reliever market, or what's going on in Boston. Meanwhile, the Orioles bring in Kyle Gibson on a 1 year deal, pending physical. Kyle Gibson.
I like that deal. I like that deal a lot. I think he's got a lot to bring. I mean, he's a veteran guy. I think he was on and off pretty good in Philly. And again, it's one of those situations where you can bring a guy in like that and hopefully mentor some of the young guys and help them make that next step, take that next step forward. So I think that's probably what they're looking to do there with Gibson. And if he can pitch at a high level, it's a win-win for the Orioles for sure.
Here's a big one for you, Zach Eflin, your buddy. 3 years, $40 million. Red Sox offered the same deal. Tampa had the home field advantage. Eflin wanted to be. He's an Orlando native. He's going home to Tampa. I love it.
I love the signing also, and I saw a graphic several days ago, and it's what is it? It was like the 4 largest free agent contracts, for pitchers that they had given out, and his was like number 2 or something like that. So it's a rare type of signing for Tampa, but we all know how good they are at advanced analytics and bringing in the right guys. He's got a really powerful sinker. He's got a nice slider, a nice cutter. It can also throw a curveball and a changeup. So if he stays healthy, if he can be durable, he will be really good. He's got a really low heart rate, as we talked about with a bunch of guys that pitch for Philly. He's one of them. If, like I said, he's dealt with some knee issues from time to time, but he's a big dude. He's strong, and he knows how to pitch really well. So I like that signing from Tampa. And yeah, he gets to stay at home. So that's going to add a level of comfort, for him and his family. And that kind of stuff goes a long way.
If you're an agent, your team is, or your player's getting a call from Tampa, I think you have to tell every other team, hey, Tampa's interested. Tampa's interested. Price got to go through the roof. They got like 50 people just sitting around working the calculators trying to find baseball players. And so it's just one of those, you see Tampa look in on someone, take an interest, commit $40 million for 3 years. I said that's the largest free agent contract in their team history. And you're telling me, like, I shouldn't say it like this. Zach Eflin very much to me is going to be a fucking stud on this deal. For literally no other reason. I don't give a shit. Just the fact Tampa's given 3 year $40 million to the guy. They're going to hit on that bet. Tampa's not going to miss out on this.
Yeah, and it's not a huge AAV. I mean, he's getting $11 million in the first 2 seasons. It jumps to 18 in 2025, which that's a nice number. But if you're bringing him in and you're expecting him to be, let's say a 2 or 3, potentially, like that's a ceiling that I've seen him pitch at, and I believe he can still perform at. And if that's the case, that turns out to be a really nice signing for Tampa.
I see Matt Boyd too. He signed $10 million with the Tigers. The Tigers are bringing Matt Boyd back, left-handed pitcher. The only big takeaway from, I should say, Matthew Boyd actually pitched pretty well for Seattle last year. The only big takeaway for me in like Matthew Boyd making $10 million is that the free agent market is going to be complete chaos as this continues to shape up. And I'm not like fucking no disrespect to Chris Martin. He had a 4.3 ERA for the Cubs last year. I watched him give up 38 hits and 31 in a third. Like, I know what we're talking about here. 2 years and $17.5 million is a lot of money. Matt Boyd, 1 year, $10 million deal. I think he pitched in 10 games last year for Seattle. He's going back to Detroit. Like the market is hot. These guys are getting paid a fuck ton of money. $10 million.
Yeah, and I don't know. Obviously, he was injured a good portion of the season because 10 games he only threw 13 innings. I don't know what the injury was, but obviously wasn't of much concern, for them, and they brought him in and they they like what they project him to be able to do for them next season. So I mean, if he's productive, if he's healthy, as I'm sure he is now, $10 million. So what?
I do want to remind our audience, you talk about Matt Boyd, it's a guy who gave up 54 homers and 44 starts not too long ago. A really tough stretch, and now bounced back $10 million again. Now, if you take, people may not, this is how much money it is. If that was the average fucking cost of your players, that's a $260 million payroll. I'm pretty sure that would be second or third in baseball. So it's above average, significantly above average. And again, I bring this up because as the fucking market shakes up, all right, let's talk about Aaron Judge for a second. I don't know if you saw this. Joel Sherman, who's in the New York media, this guy's not happy at all. He said if a desperate team was willing to pay a 34-year-old, he's talking about Jacob deGrom, who's hardly played the last 2 years and exudes no leadership skills, 5 years and $185 million. What might a desperate team like the San Francisco Giants pay a 30-year-old leader like Aaron Judge, who's been healthy and excelled the last 2 years? It's a fucking bullshit take from Joel Sherman, by the way. Say guys exudes no leadership skills.
I don't know where he's getting that from.
Joel, how could Jacob be a better leader for you? I would like to hear Joel Sherman chime in on that. And what specific examples can Jacob deGrom lead you better, Joel, personally and specifically? Sounds like you fucking need the leadership, hell. Leave the guy alone.
Yeah. Is he blaming deGrom for the Mets not being able to get a little bit further in the postseason? I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, what does he want to see out of him? What he's saying about Aaron Judge and the Giants being desperate? Yeah, I don't know if I'd consider them desperate, but I don't see them signing Judge. I don't think that's a situation Judge would want to go to with the pieces that would be around him in San Francisco, and you're looking at San Diego and you're looking at LA. It's like, even if I go there, obviously with the production he's capable of, I don't think it's enough to surpass LA or San Diego. I think San Diego is going to be better moving forward. I think the Dodgers are going to continue to, do their thing, whether they lose a couple guys or not. I mean, they brought Kershaw back for a season. I don't know. I think San Francisco's they're in a pretty weird spot.
And he cares. You guys care. He's going to look at that and go, I don't want to go play. Like, that matters that much? I mean, dude, it's San Francisco. It's sweet. It's Oracle Park. Like, it's not – it's a Bay Area, man. We're talking about they offer him 10 years and $350 million. Boo.
Yeah, but he's probably going to get that or close to that from the Yankees, I would assume. I mean, I saw something that he wants a 9-year deal or it's shaping up to look like he will get a 9-year deal. I mean, it's all rumors, speculation. But if it's going to take a 9th year to bring Judge in, I can see a team going for it.
Are players going to be more competitive? Take me inside the brain of a big-time free agent now. Like, does it matter to Aaron Judge, you think, if he wants to win a World Series? Or do you think it goes deeper and it's like, I want to win a World Series in New York? I think it stops with I want to win a World Series. I think the player, this is what I would expect, and now this is where you can tell me I'm wrong and tell me to pound sand, but I do think that it's like I want to win a World Series. How much loyalty can a guy have to a city he's not from, wasn't raised like that? I mean, it's kind of phony to me when a player grows up in a system and is like, I got to win it for him. Like, come on. I guess, see, Jeter's different because he was born a Yankees fan, and the story is like since he was a little boy, all he wanted to do was play for the Yankees. But Aaron Judge, like, go back home, play for the Giants?
Well, so personally, like if you ask me before we won our World Series in 2016 in Chicago, because of kind of what was at stake, the history there, not winning in 108 years, I wanted to win a World Series for the Chicago Cubs. If I was signing a big free agent deal, I agree with you. It ends at I just want to win a World Series. It could be different for him. He might want to win that World Series in New York. That's where he started. But I don't know. I don't know what is going on in Aaron Judge's head. That could be the case, but I think it's just a ring. Wherever it happens, that's his concern. But something, I don't know if you saw this, something big just came across the screen right now. Supposedly, there's not much information on it, but it says the Phillies and shortstop Trea Turner have agreed on a contract, according to Jeff Passan of ESPN. More to come. So we thought this could be happening. I was under the impression that was their first option. We heard that he wants to go back to the East Coast. And it seems like that's currently materializing. So, if that's the case, what a huge move from Philly. I know Bryce Harper he's going crazy right now. I'm going to shoot him a text.
Trea Turner to the Phillies, Bryson Stott to second base.
Yeah.
What a great move for Philadelphia.
Huge move. Well, we talked about it last week. Like this will help pick up some of the slack while Bryce Harper is still kind of recovering and getting back to 100%. And we don't know when exactly he's going to be ready to perform at his level and play right field again for the Phillies. It could be end of April. It could be sometime in May. It could be June. I don't know. We'll see how that progression goes. But like I said, being a left-handed bat and a right-handed thrower, having Tommy John on that right side will probably hold him back a little bit longer than, let's say, if he was a right-handed hitter. But bringing in Trea Turner, man, that allows them to – and they want to get him back as quick as they can to have everybody in the lineup together and jump out to a good start. We all know how important it is to get out of the gates hot. And if you can separate yourself a little bit where other teams are trying to catch you, that's huge for your ability to go out there and just play every game, win tonight, whatever happens, and we move forward. So Middleton's doing his thing, man.
And they went into the offseason with not that much payroll flexibility, I didn't think. I mean, they had to get rid of Segura and then don't bring back Eflin. And then right there, I guess there's $30 million. But, their top 5 payroll last year, I want to say they were 230 plus. and that's just such an amazing fan. Like, to be a Phillies fan right now, you went out, you got Bryce Harper a couple of years ago, you hit on Wheeler, that fucking pays off. You know, you hit on Schwarber, you get all those moments in October, you trade for Real Muto, then you sign him to a whopper. Now you go out, you get Trea Turner. Man. See, it's sequences like that, and when you talk about it like that, it's very hard for other people to be fans of other teams. It's hard to be a fan of a team that doesn't do shit, that's on their fucking heels. Brian Reynolds comes out, says, I want to get a trade from the Pirates. I mean, you're walking around, you're a Pirates fan. How do you do it? 6.725 for Carlos Santana. No, congratulations. Meanwhile,
Yeah, there's a handful of teams that just kind of go through the motions, and it's unfortunate because you get drafted by a team like one of those teams, and you're like, all right, I'm excited. I get to start my professional career, but you know, the light at the end of the tunnel is not very bright, and who knows if or when that's ever going to change for a certain number of teams. So I don't blame Brian Reynolds for wanting a trade. I probably would too if I'm at that stage of my career and like, you know, I'm hopefully becoming like an everyday like quality player. He's a good player. Like he wants to play on a winning team. You want to come to the field knowing that you have an opportunity to win every single night. And it's not the case in that city. I mean, I like it there. I do like it there. It'd be a hell of a lot more enjoyable if they, you know, showed signs of wanting to compete. And it's got to be frustrating for people on that staff. And I know a couple of people on that staff at certain spots in, you know, in the organization that work extremely hard, trying to do everything they can to, you know, develop players. But, you know, if you're only given this type of talent, I mean, their ceiling's only so high. And I mean, they're going to have to draft better than most and develop better than most to have a competitive team. Because we know they're not going to give massive free agent deals.
no. And this is tragic that the guy's got 3 years left until he becomes a free agent, and he wants nothing to do with that organization. What does that tell you? I mean, and I'm sure it's tough if you've got good relationships with your teammates and all that shit. But how many fucking times can I'm sorry, I'm a little worked up here about this, but like, how many times can Brian Reynolds honestly get in a box in front of 7,000 people, maybe paid attendance on a Thursday afternoon, and really care? And then you see October baseball, and you go to different places, you play in front of crowds, you see what it's like Philadelphia during October, and then you got to think about mid-June in Pittsburgh, and you're not getting treated right. And they're not trying to build the team up. I think it's baloney if they're going to sit here and be like, well, our goal is to improve the Pirates for 2023 and beyond. They get bent. No shot. So,
Yeah,
sad stuff.
frustrating. Yeah, I mean, it's
Sad.
no different from any other professional sport. There's always going to be teams like that. I mean, we know not everybody can compete for a championship year in, year out. There are those teams that, you know, kind of make their moves and pop their head up here and there that do compete. And then there's just kind of the same group of mediocrity that are just there, that are just basically on the schedule for the better teams to, you know, kind of run through.
Now what's going to happen with Correa? People said a big shortstop would definitely get signed early in the winter meetings. Trea Turner had been linked to the Phillies for a long time. So if this is the first chip to fall, I haven't seen contract details yet. I would guess 8 years. I would guess $260 million, because that's what the numbers they were throwing around before was something like $260 million. So if it's north of that, you know, good for Middleton, but probably around $250 million is a good benchmark.
Well, and he's the number one, you know, shortstop. Yeah, at least in my opinion, I think in a lot of people's opinion that was available. And now this kind of allows other teams to, once these numbers come out, kind of assess that, break the contract down, and then kind of go from there. Like then the next guys will probably kind of fall in line behind Trea Turner. We'll see. I mean, there were some notes I saw that you had written down from you know, information with Dansby Swanson and the Braves. Seems that they're potentially far apart. But let's say Trea Turner gets, you know, what'd you say, $240 million potentially?
I got the deals here. That's why if you saw my jaw hit the floor, subscribe to our YouTube page. It's still there. 11 years, 300 million.
There it is.
Per Kylie McDaniel, ESPN Baseball
Oh,
Insider.
there it is. Yep. Mm-hmm. Full no trade.
You like that?
I love it. I love it. How can you not? It's everything he's capable of on the baseball field.
27 million.
I love it, man. Yeah, I do.
27.3 million. Just did the math in my head. Good for him.
Now you got two of the best players in all of baseball. They're going to play together for the at least next 9 years, 8 or 9 years together. Pretty damn solid.
Okay, Trea Turner. NC State Wolfpack. Put up the Wolfpack.
Yeah, Turner's off the board. It'll be interesting to see. And, with Bogarts, with Correa, with Swanson, they're looking at that 11-year, deal. I don't think any of them get 11 years. I think that's fairly agreeable. I'd like to see Correa go to Chicago. I think they're going to have to convince him that they're moving in the direction to be a championship caliber team. That might not be this year, maybe not next year. But if you're say you're Correa, if the Cubs are telling you and they're showing you, hey, we might not be great in 2023. We're going to be pretty good in 24, but we are going to compete for a World Series in 2025. Would that entice you? Would that sell you? Would you be willing to wait 2 seasons to be championship ready?
Yeah, I would not if I was Correa. It sounds like Correa wasn't in on that last year. Or I think that was part of the push why he was like, I have no interest in talking to the Cubs right now if that's what you guys are going to do. No, I wouldn't if I was Carlos Correa. But I think the Cubs, and we'll use the Cubs as an example here, or another team that isn't there yet, but you want to get one of these guys. If you look next year, there's none. This is the time to get a shortstop. This is the time to get a premier blue chip middle infielder. And if you're not willing to commit to trying to win a World Series while these guys are there immediately. Now, if it's the first year and it's here's the deal. All right. So the first year, we know for a fact years 2 through 7 on this deal, 2 to 8 from the second year on this deal, that you'll have every resource available, imaginable. I think that's how you got to talk to a guy like Correa. You're going to give you all the resources, all the players you need. But now anybody who is hoping to sign a shortstop is fucked because Trea Turner getting $27 million a year for 11 seasons. Hey, Bob, that's more than Bryce Harper gets. So his AAV is higher than Bryce Harper over 11 years.
Yeah, I'm very interested to and won't ever get to be privy to these conversations, but obviously in the industry, that's probably what was floating around. Those are the type of numbers that it was going to take to get him, and they weren't willing to risk losing him because there's another team or two out there that wanted him bad. But if rumors are correct that he wanted to go back to the East Coast, then maybe that narrowed it down a little bit. I'm not for sure. I don't necessarily know who was heavy on him also, but it's kind of like an auction if there's 2 big boys in there that are just running up the price, somebody's going to end up paying maybe a little bit more than they otherwise would have.
And I don't think Turner's better than Correa enough for Correa to get less. I don't think but for teams to now go to Correa and say, well, Turner got 11 and 300, so we know you're not worth that. I think it's the opposite. I think now Correa's team gets to go out and say, well, that's 11 and 300 for Trea. We're looking at 10-280, 10-290. I don't know. The Cubs, and then we're talking a lot about the Cubs. They absolutely have to go pay this now. Tough shit, guys. They haven't been in free agency for years now, and now they want to go out there and bring in a middle infielder. They don't have Their back is very much up against the wall. And no, Nico Horner could be like the best second baseman in the National League, and instead you're stretching him and making him be an above-average shortstop. Now, I'm not saying making him, but like, listen, he's not a top 10 shortstop in the world, and that's not to say tough. 12th, sure. 13th, maybe. He's very good. He's a very good baseball player, one of the fucking best shortstops in the world. But is he good enough if you're gonna like look at Carlos Correa and pass on that? Is he good enough to pass on Xander Bogaerts? You know, I don't know. He'd be a great second baseman. And the Phillies are willing to do it with Bryson Stott, who just played shortstop in the World Series.
Yeah. Well, I think that might take a little bit of pressure off Bryson Stott. And I'm not saying that he couldn't handle it, being an everyday shortstop, but now you're going to compliment a guy like Trea Turner at short. We'll see how this affects. It's affected with, banning of the shift and how, the infielders now are, required to be a little bit more of athletes, and the range factor comes a little bit more into play. I think Trea Turner's just overall speed is going to benefit, the Phillies at the shortstop position. I mean, he's got a strong arm. But I do agree with you. I mean, I don't know how much better, Trea Turner is than Carlos Correa. I mean, there's a couple aspects of Trea Turner's game that are a lot better than Correa's. I mean, obviously his as a stolen base threat, I mean, Correa doesn't really steal any bases. Trea steals. He's a tremendous base runner. But as far as, like an on base and slugging percentage, I mean, they're virtually the same guy.
So for me, I like to take it down to the eye test then. They're very similar ball players. So just give me the eye test. When you pop out of the dugout, who do I want playing shortstop? I take Carlos Correa. I just love that build, the way that, like, when he wears his pants up too. Oh, he's just such a good-looking fielder. And just the idea of being a pitcher and turning around and seeing that guy behind you has to feel so fucking – has to feel so good.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more than happy to have either one of those guys. And I mean, I don't even think you can use the term like settling for a guy like Correa, but if Trea's off the board and you still have an opportunity to get Carlos, you're still extremely happy with that. We'll see. I'm sure his counsel's, talking with teams at the winter meetings and trying to get something done. Everybody knows in the industry what the numbers are for Trea Turner. And you got to think that Carlos's team is going to want to command something very similar to that deal.
Oh, fuck. Dude, yeah, they're on the phone right now being like, up it. If that's more than what they thought, if Correa's camp is surprised that Turner got that much money. But again, I mean, Correa went to the market last year, got $40 million from the Twins for a season.
Yeah, well, on a shorter term deal, I mean, you're willing to give those AAVs usually for a guy like that.
He's got great hair too, Trea Turner. Some of the thickest.
He's got beautiful hair.
Just a real thick mane. That's Newport, Rhode Island hair. It's saltwater taffy hair.
You're right, man. I do a lot for that hair.
Hey, speaking of hair, my beard looks thick. You're watching this on YouTube. You can zoom in if you'd like. I have a tremendous coverage. It's full. It feels luscious. It's clean. It's ready to go. It's getting bigger, thicker, stronger. And that's because my good friends at Beard Guys. Beard Guys offers a comprehensive collection of beard care products for all types of facial hair and skin types. Even me, I can't even grow a beard. I've been working with Beard Guys on this for a while. Say something nice about my beard right now. Say something nice about my growth.
Well, it's darkening. It's darkening up. It's coming in better than I've seen it. And I'm proud of you for growing it out. And, Beard Guys will help you get the shine in there. It'll help it look a little more full. Okay, so you're on your way to having a nice beard.
Thank you. And I'm working. I'm working, and I got Beard Guys in my corner. You look fantastic with it right now. I know that you've been doing the wash and tame because they've got multiple products. It's not just like one thing you throw on. It's like a little wash and tame for the shower, fill out the rack. You should be taking care of yourself because you can take care of yourself to this level. And then they've got the beard balms when you get out. You want to keep it soft and smooth. And then the oil. Oh, the smells. The smells. Combo that with a little fragrance, and you are in for a big wet night, knee deep in it, guys. I'm telling you. Craft your beard care routine at beardguys.com. Join the team. I want to meet Beard Guys. If you're a Beard Guys guy, come find me. BEARD, Beard Guys with a Z. Beardguys.com. Beard Guys. I'm a beard guy. I've always wanted to be a beard guy. Now I am a beard guy, and I smell fantastic. We got a little sidetrack Trea Turner news. That's good live reaction on a podcast. But that is huge. $300 million, 11 years. Obviously, the Verlander news, the deGrom, some massive contracts. And people say after a CBA gets done, first year after a CBA, usually chaos in free agency, massive deals. If anything, this is like a little bit more wild than I anticipated.
Well, and they got to the World Series, and they had a pretty decent showing. The Astros, just all around a better team last season. You get that taste in your mouth, you get to the big dance, and you lose. You want to get back, and that's the message that they're sending. Like we had a nice season, came up just a little bit short. Now we're going to do everything we can to get back to that position next year and hopefully win it. So, if you're a Philly fan, if you're a player in that organization, your heart rate's fucking zooming right now. You're probably ready to get in the gym, start your throwing program. Maybe it's a little premature for that, but if I'm a Philly, I'm ready to play baseball right now.
Well, you take the Phillies off for Dansby Swanson now. Let's put the Cubs back in the top of the list for him, it sounds like. The Braves don't do a very good job with player relations once you are very awesome, and it is obvious they have to pay you a lot of money. And I don't mean that as a dig against the Braves. It's just obvious now with Freddie Freeman and Dansby Swanson's going to walk away. That's fine. I totally get it. Michael Harris is on the books for a good deal. You invest in Austin Riley. It's the nature of the business. They're not compelled. They don't have to give him $25 million just because they traded for him and he came up in the system and has been not necessarily a homegrown guy because they didn't draft him first overall, but they've built around him. They won a World Series with him, and now he's leaving the Braves. I don't get it.
Yeah, and if you're Dansby, you're probably looking around over the past year or two thinking, oh, man, like they're handing all this money, to the guys around me, and I'm sure that at the time he wanted to stay there. He wanted to be around those guys and continue to play in Atlanta and compete because they're always highly competitive. But it's looking like that's not going to happen, and that's fine too. There's somebody out there that really values him and wants to bring him in. I'm just not sure what that number is going to look like. Said that he's wanting closer to what was it, like 140 million. And that, so that would be, what do you think the years on that would be? 6-year deal, about a 6-year deal.
Yeah, he deserves way more than $20 million. I'm not trying to shit on Matt Boyd, but I brought up the fact that he was making $10 million next year. This is a comparison here. He definitely deserves more than $20 million a year. And somebody will make that. He should be the last shortstop to sign, though.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that's right. Yeah, I don't want to see him go to be in a position where he's going to go to a team that's not going to compete. But somebody always ends up on a team like that.
Now I'm seeing almost a dozen teams are talking to Xander Bogaerts. You think that's real? You think a dozen teams?
They might have called to inquire. If that is true, that probably eliminates the possibility of him going to San Diego and maybe playing first base. I don't see Xander wanting to make that move. I think he would be maybe more inclined to potentially move to third. I don't see him as a second baseman, but first base, I don't see it.
A couple other things here. I just, as far as the hot stove, let's put the fire out on the hot stove here. I am seeing from John Morosi, the Yankees, it's a 50-50 between the Yankees and the Giants. That's a report. Interesting there. I mean, I just see $300 million and 11 to Trea Turner I'm like, Aaron Judge should get $400 million then. Like, he should
Yeah, you
get
would think so.
$500 million then.
You would think so. God. Yeah, especially after that season.
Now, how do I say it? I'm not disrespecting Trea Turner. I'm just
Not
saying
at
Aaron
all.
fucking
Not at all.
Judge, guys. Talking about 62 big ones. And he's so big and beautiful. And it's like, it's so much more than just the numbers. It's the man and the presence and everything he does for that team. We're in lockstep that the Yankees are like 15 games worse last year without him. 20 games worse. There's no wins above replacement. I mean, I get wins above replacement that's not how you use that stat, and it could never be applied like that for how
No, but
how much he did.
isn't that the isn't that kind of the philosophy behind the stat?
Yeah, the philosophy behind the stat is like if you took him and you just brought up a guy from AAA, how much? What's the idea? But you can't measure that stuff accurately. I mean, it's like you've got like 100 factors in there between games played. A lot of it's just metrics and ratios of like what's your stolen base rate relative to the rest of the league. It's all relative to everybody else's numbers. So that's why you can look at a player from 1920 and then be like, all right, this is how valuable you were relative to the rest of the league, and compare and say, okay, well, Babe Ruth was. Whew.
It'll be interesting to see. Like if Judge happens to not sign back with New York, and they made a big deal about Rizzo signing quickly, and to show Judge that they're going to bring Rizzo back because they're close. It's like if he signs with San Francisco, it's like, oh well, that worked out for you.
Yeah. Ew. Then they're probably giving Brandon Nimmo a truckload of money, or what does that look like then? If the Yankees don't bring in Aaron Judge, how do you replace all of that?
Well, you're not going to do it with just one guy. Yeah, that's impossible.
It's like that scene from Moneyball, and it's like, we don't have to replace Giambi with one player. All right, a couple other things here. Fred McGriff unanimously elected to the Hall of Fame by the Contemporary Era Committee. Congrats to Crime Dog. Crime Dog. I love it when love to see a Hall of Famer from my childhood.
No doubt about it. The hi hat, like just sitting on the very top, way up here. And was it Tom Amansky videos that he gave his full endorsement? I believe it was. It's like one of the things I remember most about him, and just that sweet swing, the 490 plus homers, and he's the only guy that got in, correct?
Yeah, he is. Barry Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, Dale Murphy, Rafael Palmeiro, and Don Mattingly did not get 12 of the 16 votes.
Not surprised with, 4 or 5 of the names you just mentioned. I mean, I don't think they'll probably ever get in. And how do you feel about that? Because there's guys from the steroid era that did steroids that got in. They just didn't get caught, never tested positive, or were never tested at the time. I don't know. It's just, it's weird in that way. And there's probably there's guys that got in that were on steroids and like, oh, well, never got caught. Oops.
I mean, Bonds, Clemens, Schilling are like first ballot slam dunk, 99% of the vote Hall of Famers. They're not in there because the baseball writers don't like them. I mean, Schilling's a dick, but who gives a shit? Schilling, give the ball in October to Kurt Schilling, and you were getting 8 innings of 3-hit ball. And then what do you want me to say? Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are bigger than life. They're like bigger than the game. There's like very few players you could be like, that guy right there. I mean, Roger Clemens went into Yankee Stadium like during the middle of a game in the skybox and announced he was coming back, and the place went nuts. During the middle of a game. It was like July. Yeah, I'm coming back for you guys. I mean, like, how can you put all right, fine, whatever. They're not in the Hall of Fame. Okay, cool. That's the punishment from the baseball writers because they didn't get what they wanted from these guys. They feel like, they're owed something. They want the apology. They want to see the pain. I mean, who cares? Like, Barry Bonds is, all right, fine. He doesn't get a plaque in Cooperstown. Not one dude in Cooperstown, not one plaque in Cooperstown, you can make an argument, is like better than Barry Bonds. He's fucking best. Barry Bonds at his best was the best hitter I've ever seen. And I think anybody could say the exact same thing. So it's tragic that this is how we talk about Barry Bonds. We're still stuck in the stupid fucking the stupid cycle. We're stuck in
It's
the stupid
surprising,
cycle with these
yeah.
guys.
Surprising to me, I'm just looking at Schilling's numbers in his career, 20 years, and that he only won, and I say only, but having that sort of longevity, and he only won 216 games. Just kind of running through some of his yearly stats and breakdowns. Does that surprise you at all? I mean, I'm sure you know that that's how many games he won. I didn't know the exact number, but expected him to have quite a few more wins than that.
So he didn't really get going till he was like 30. I mean, he had those seasons before. He'd pitched. He had multiple seasons in his mid-20s where he threw over like 220 innings. But Curt Schilling's career after 30 really kind of exploded. And some of those teams he was on were really bad. Some really, really mediocre Philly teams where it was basically just him and Mike Lieberthal and Mickey Morandini's great mullet.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he was 25, age 25 season, 92. He started 26 games. Man, he had 10 complete games that season. 14 wins, 26 season. He had 16 wins, but then he was 2-8, 7-5, 9-10, and like you said, 97 age 30 season, 17-11, then 15-14, 15-16, 11-12. Man, how about the season in 98? 35 games started, 15 CGs, 270 innings. That's a year right there.
And the command. It's just impeccable command.
Yeah.
Truly, to me, like a pitcher's pitcher. I really very much enjoyed watching Curt Schilling pitch. As they say, the command. He was always dictating the pace and the flow, never rattled. Now, obviously, never rattled. It's Curt Schilling, one of the better pitchers of my life, but especially in October. Now, that's where Curt Schilling, his postseason numbers are just like incredible. I'm gonna read these off for you real quick. Postseason 11-2, 19 starts, 2.2 ERA, 133 innings, 104 walks, or 104 hits against, 120 strikeouts. I mean, he pitched like a Cy Young. His October resume, he's pitched as a Cy Young Award winner. So,
yeah, there's probably not many postseason resumes near or anywhere close to that. 11-2 with the 2.2. That's a pretty large sample size. What was it? You say 19 starts?
Yeah, 19 October starts, 11-2, 2.23 ERA. So if we were talking about a guy like August 1st, and you're like, he's 11-2 with a 2.2, and we looked at these numbers, you'd say, oh my God, this is like Sandy Alcantara.
He's not getting in because he's not likable.
Correct. And I don't want to go down any more path than that. He's committed fraud too, or there's some financial crime stuff with him in video games. And we could just package it up and say this: Curt Schilling PR team, bad. His post-playing career reputation, and it wasn't that strong when he played. I guess he was kind of a dick, but it's a tough game, man. Tough job. You're asking these guys to go out and compete under, strenuous circumstances. They get in the locker room afterwards. They don't want to listen to Peter Gammons asking them, what's wrong with your splitter?
Yeah, okay, just don't be a dick, though. Don't be a dick. Just watching this shit right here, it seems Cardinals are pretty heavy on Dansby. We'll see where that goes during the winter meetings. He fits in St. Louis. Would be no surprise. Yeah, I know.
Look at me.
I know you don't love that, but I think that's a good fit for him. You're not a fan. Obviously not a fan.
Oh, God. That would drive me insane. Nolan Arenado,
would.
Dansby Swanson, and Paul Goldschmidt in
Goldschmidt.
that infield. I think that.
Yeah.
They allegedly have some good second basemen for the future, but we'll see about that. Now, we bring up the Cardinals, too. I just want to throw this out here. Paul DeJong. I had a buddy who played with Paul DeJong at Illinois State. Paul DeJong, I think he was an all-star a year or two ago. He was the starting shortstop for the Cardinals this year. He lost a job, or it sounds like they're going.
Yeah,
Swanson.
he had a really tough year.
Paul DeJong was a true walk-on at Illinois State. Showed up to tryouts as a freshman, and they're like, "You can be the bullpen catcher." And he was like, "All right, thanks, coach." And then turned that into being a second rounder because they needed a guy to catch. I might have told this story before, but Anytime now, I think of like, you bring up the Cardinals and their shortstop. I think of Paul DeYoung. I don't know if people can truly wrap their heads around how amazing it is that this kid was like coming from biology class as a freshman at Illinois State. Like, yeah, I'll catch the bullpens.
Yeah,
Do it, shortstop.
you see some guys have a very strange and interesting career path. Committed to the game, committed to like trying to find a way to be the best player they can. They they make strides and get better in different ways at different times in their career, and just amazing stories like that. So, and I think it's something good for kids to see. Like, just because you weren't a top recruit going to one of the best universities in the country doesn't mean that your career is over. If you want to play the game, because you only have a small window to play. So I mean, if you truly love the game, I mean, and you're willing to do what it takes to, you know, put in the work and the effort and go through adversity and hardship, if you can deal with that emotionally, you'll be better off for it. Because the guys that typically have those rough patches and have to kind of grind more than like the most talented guys, you see some of them persevere. So don't get disappointed or discouraged if you're not one of those elite guys at the top, because it's happened to a lot. I know a few of them. You do too, and you can transform yourself into a big leaguer if you're fortunate, if you have some things go your way, and you can stay healthy. Good shit happens.
Instruction's important too, which brings me back to the last thing I had for you. Is we brought up Fred McGriff, Crime Dog, Tom Amansky video. I mean, there's no reason we don't get the Lake Travis Outlaws to recreate that video.
Best part of it too is like in one of the last clips that's in the infomercial, the kid that's at the very end, they're all hitting off the tee. The kid at the end knocks the tee off of the home plate. And I'm like, y'all couldn't have just ran one more clip. You couldn't have just one more take so we can make sure that everybody is, hitting the ball solidly. They decided not to go with that. I think that's one of the reasons the clip is so good. It's like, we're out of time. Cut it. Wrap it up.
And you might wonder, like, what the market for those home VHS tapes really was back then. And I'm happy to report, pal, I grew up in a house that bought videos like that. Now, we do not have a copy of Amansky, but credit to my father. There are definitely plenty of times where, like, some package gets delivered, like, oh, Dad's got to come home. It says, Dad's got a big package. They open it up, and it's like youth coaching tips for indoor soccer leagues. Like, what the fuck is this? Getting sharp this winter. I want the boys to be good next year.
A different time, man. Now that stuff's free. YouTube, anything.
I would have been hustling back then. I would have been hustling DVDs and VHSs and pitching lessons and all that stuff, like all proprietary. I got the one method. I'd have been good.
Yeah, a lot of people claim that they had that, which is, it's a good sales pitch, but not true.
They do that on the Golf Channel. Stay up late enough, watch some Golf Channel content. You'll just see the commercials like, "Do you slice? Want to take 15 strokes off tomorrow?" It's like, yeah,
please.
All that. Yes, tomorrow, right now. What do I do? How much do I buy? 4 easy installments, $39.99. And if you don't like it, send it back 60 days. There's a refund policy, guaranteed. It's nice.
Yeah, and you get those kind of off-brand like hybrids that they're trying to sell, or the drivers that will not create side spin, right to left or left to right. There's one it's called like the Monza driver, and then the Teton or the Pharaoh, whatever they are. They're like $40. So
The technology
but it's not
Titleist.
it's not the Arrow, it's the Indian. We all know that.
Yeah. Put that on a shirt.
I'm doing it. Done. Well, shit, we covered quite a bit. We got fortunate with some news during the show, which rarely happens for us. So it was a nice day.
It was like a robust conversation of news and insight and reporting here. I do feel like a professional hot stove guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to end with a bold prediction here. Here's my bold prediction. I think the Mets sign Carlos Rodon, and I think they do it to a very large deal. And I think they're not done yet. I think the Mets are going to do some crazy shit.
I could see it happening. I like that. Yeah, I'm sure there's 6-7 teams pretty heavy on Rodon. The fact that he's got the type of stuff, the mid upper 90s, big durable guy, strong guy, potentially 5-6 year deal. That would make a statement. You get Verlander, Rodon, Scherzer. Okay, picking up some of the slack that you lost and showing that you're going to go tit for tat with Philly, and we know Atlanta's going to be competitive. We'll see if the Marlins are going to be more competitive than they were last season. If they can find a way to hit a little bit, they have the arms. We'll see, man. I'm going to keep tabs on the news and what's flying around out there, and I got some texts back and forth with some guys in the league, and trying to see if there's any chatter other than what I'm hearing from the winter meetings. Maybe he signs before our next show. Hopefully during our next show.
Let's break it.
Yeah.
Or we should be I want to figure out how to break some news, but not like big contract news. Like Trea Turner just ordered a ribeye. Trea Turner went to the knot.
If I'm him, I'm taking 4 or 5 buddies, and we're going somewhere. We're going somewhere for a week or so. Maybe a catamaran. Bring a chef. Have a masseuse. Island to island. Decompress for a little bit. Celebrate, and then get back to work.
$570 million worth of commitments to Turner, Verlander, deGrom. Some massive AAVs. Good for those guys. This is Starting 9. Subscribe to the show. Share the show. We're going to be back on Thursday morning trying to get some insider stuff, insider information. We'll pick up on winter meetings. Obviously, subscribe to the show. Leave a review. We got to get tight on that. We got to do a review like a review drive and like a fucking. We got to get people signed up. Support.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Enjoyed it. Good show call.